Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. We're very excited about this evening. This is, as Dan said, the first time that we come together between SCL and SAG-AFTRA to look at the ins and outs of having live singers on our music as composers. We're going to be focusing on the needs of the composer as the SCL. That's what we like to do, to bring to light the options and opportunities and the contracts that are currently in place for us to record singers through the SAG-AFTRA union. And our hope is to bring this much more into the reach of every composer, composers at every level, and to help demystify the process. And to help us do that, we've got a fantastic panel of people here today. And between them and some experts in the room as well, we've really got a terrific bank of knowledge here and experience. So make the most of it. Ask lots of questions, make connections. There are also some handouts that I think you should have picked up at the door in this, and which has got some really good, useful things that we've been working on with SAG-AFTRA, composers' facts that hopefully will answer basic questions. And you can keep these things on hand. There's a glossary of terms that relate to recording in general, but also specific to singers, and rate scales. And we're going to talk a little bit about all of these kinds of things during this event. I'd like to thank our really amazing team of putting this together, Sally Stevens and Ayana Haviv, who's over there, and Randy Crenshaw from the Singers Union, we met before, who approached us after we did a somewhat similar event with AFM RMA. Similarly, we wanted to demystify the process of recording union and make it something that is within the reach of composers who often think, particularly starting out, this is not something that I'll ever be able to do, or I certainly can't do it now. It's too expensive, it's too complicated, and this is really what we're here for, is to make it something that's reachable for everybody. From the SCL side, Ashley Owen, Benoit Gray, and of course Laura Dunn, who we met before. So I hope you get a lot out of it. Before we start, if you could please switch off your cell phones, that would be good. And let me introduce the panel. Walter Murphy. Walter composed the theme songs and underscored to 3 Fox animated series, Family Guy, American Dad, and The Cleveland Show. He wrote the score to the feature film Ted, recently out, and was nominated for an Academy Award for its theme song, Everybody Needs a Best Friend, sung by Norah Jones. He's provided the scores to numerous other TV series, so many that we know, including Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Prophet, The Commish, as well as Looney Tunes feature cartoons. His recording of A Fifth of Beethoven's, which is one of my all-time favorites, and makes me very happy to have him sit next to me. Well, I'm stuck in disco, so I'm happy with that. Which reached the #1 spot and was featured in the film Saturday Night Fever and on the Grammy-winning soundtrack album. He won the 2002 Emmy Award for Outstanding Music and Lyrics for the song You've Got a Lot to See for Family Guy, and was nominated for 3 more Emmys, all for Family Guy. And we're going to have a little excerpt of something later. It's a little treat. Sally Stevens has worked as a singer in film scores, TV commercials, and sound recordings. She's been a vocal contractor for some of the biggest names in the industry here, from John Williams, Alan Silvestri, James Newton Howard, James Horner, Danny Elfman, Jerry Goldsmith, Walter Murphy, Alf Clausen, Marco Beltrami, and many others. Her first film score was How the West Was Won, and her most recent film as vocal contractor and singer was for Lyle Workman on the incredible Burt Wonderstone. She currently does vocals for The Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, and The Cleveland Show. She has served for many years as choral director for the Oscars broadcast, and I think you're working on it this time around as well. So pretty busy at the moment. Also written lyrics for film, sound recordings, and TV composers Dave Grusin, Burt Bacharach, Don Ellis, and Dominique Frontiere, as well as others. Sally is currently on the SAG-AFTRA National Board and trustee of AFTRA Health and Retirement Funds. She is a past board member and trustee also of NARAS. She's a wonderful person, a force of nature. I met her recently, and out here to do a lot of good in bringing us together as composers and singers. So we're very lucky to have Sally here. Mervyn Warren is a 5-time Grammy winner and 10-time Grammy nominee. He has composed underscore and produced, arranged, and/or written songs and lyrics for films such as The Wedding Planner, The Preacher's Wife, A Raisin in the Sun, Living Out Loud, A Walk to Remember, and Sister Act 2. An original member of the vocal sensation Take Six, Mervyn produced, arranged, wrote numerous recordings for Quincy Jones, Whitney Houston, Queen Latifah, Barbra Streisand, David Foster, Boyz II Men, Michael Bublé, Donna Summer, Chicago, Faith Hill, and many more. It's quite an incredible list. In 2010, he produced We Are the World 25 for Haiti relief, and recently completed both underscore and songs for the remarkable musical film Joyful Noise, starring Queen Latifah and Dolly Parton, and we'll be hearing a really amazing excerpt of that also a little bit later on. Welcome, Merv. We also very pleased to have Terry Ann Beecher, who is the National Director of Singers for SAG-AFTRA, and here with a lot of good information for us. And also joining us is Stephanie Taub, who is National Director of Sound Recording at SAG-AFTRA. Is that right? Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, we're out of time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Do you want to have the last word? Okay. Well, let's start off with the basics. What is SAG-AFTRA, and how does it interface with composers? Maybe Sally, do you want to take a shot at this first, and we can have the other two.
Well, SAG-AFTRA is actually now is a combination of SAG and AFTRA. So all the contracts have been combined, and they represent, is this feeding back? It is. They represent actors, singers, dancers, announcers, sports people. I think all the categories are probably in the printed material, but as far as the singers are concerned, we work under SAG-AFTRA for theatrical film, primetime television, animation, new media, I don't want to miss anything, commercials, sound recordings, interactive and non-broadcast, industrial non-broadcast.
Okay, great. Now, so what's its role relating to composers? Say we want to bring vocalists for our work, and how are we going to interface it on a functional basis in terms of contracts and things like that? Who are we going to call? Maybe Terry, would you like to have a?
Okay, I turned my mic off there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that the singers in the union add so much to a soundtrack, and if you need to get in touch with the singer, you can. We have actors to locate, so if there's anybody in particular that you are looking for, you can call the union and the actors to locate department. Certainly tonight we have a lot of our singers committee here, and they're all, I can tell you, absolutely amazing, and certainly this community is one of the most proactive in making it easy to work with, and they also, once you hear them, have made it very hard to do without them. So, contact the union if you're looking for someone, network, meet some of the people here tonight, and hopefully take advantage of this amazing talent pool that we have.
So, I mean, just to pick up on that a little bit, what, and this is really an open question we can go through, everybody, what do we feel are the advantages of going with SAG-AFTRA on a vocal session? Some of them are very, very obvious, that just having, the talent locally and to be able to draw on that. But let's speak a little bit to that question and say, what are the real advantages for us?
Well, I think there's a level of experience that SAG singers have that I've had the privilege to work with that is completely invaluable. I mean, it's not just coming in and sight reading music. A lot of people come in and sight read music, but the folks that Sally has been able to provide, at least for me on the TV shows that I work on, are so experienced that very often you get in the studio and a producer on television or a director in a film will, of course, make comments about the performance and what should happen here and what should happen there, and very often they don't have any musical. They don't have the musical vocabulary, or they they very often will sort of coach singers as if they were actors, and lesser experienced people can, I've seen it, get very, very flustered by that, and that's just part of the advantage of working with seasoned pros that you find in the Screen Actors Guild vocally.
Yeah.
And yes, and here in Los Angeles, there's a wealth of talent to draw from. So
Yeah.
I can't go back.
Okay. Sally, would you like to add anything from from your point of view and your experiences? What do you guys bring to the table?
Well, we bring enthusiasm, for one thing. There's such a multitude of styles, and I think it's partly because this town has been the center for theater and film and television recording for so long that a community has grown up here out of the singers that are so flexible and adaptable and familiar with a lot of different styles. You can find almost anything. I mean, we've done many different languages. We did a movie like Power of One, or where the African language is involved. We've sung in, when we did the music for the Simpsons movie, there was a little song in that movie called Spider Pig. You may remember that delightful piece.
Yeah.
And we did it in English, and they got such a good reaction to the piece that they had us come back, and in a 3-hour session, we did it in about 9 other languages. And there were, on a couple of the languages, there were coaches there available. But so there's almost nothing that you can't find in this town. And you also get a level of professionalism, I think, that I've never worked anywhere else, so I can't compare it, but I know it's awfully high quality.
Yeah, I have worked elsewhere. It is better here. But so yeah, I mean, also I think also because of that experience, the sessions can go faster. I mean,
absolutely.
They're going to be better sight readers, and they get it done. They also know kind of the type of stuff that is required of them in the film and TV world. Whereas often working abroad, you're dealing with people who are maybe proficient in opera or some other classical things or local folk, but they don't necessarily know the kind of the language that we use in film and TV. Merv, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. I'd like to add that what's also amazing about being in a city like Los Angeles and having, if you're writing for film or television, sometimes you have to do special things or unusual things, like what Sally was describing. And we all might know singers, or we have friends who sing, or we may sing ourselves, but you may need a certain sound and you may not know exactly whom to call. And so what's great is to be able to call Sally, as I have, and said, okay, I'm doing this project, these are the parameters, it has to be this, it has to sound like this, it's this kind of thing, the voices need to be maybe this age range, because if it's in a film and you're matching actors or that kind of thing, I don't know those people, or I don't know all of them. So to be able to call a contractor and say, these are our parameters, this is what we need, this is how it needs to sound, help. And they put together, and it's always on the nose. It's always exactly what what you needed. One other thing is I've done a couple of film projects where there was a group in the film, group of people singing. Actually, as I'm speaking, I'm even thinking of more examples. Often there may be a group of singers, and the goal is not necessarily for them to sound like the most amazing thing you've ever heard. It is easier to take a group of professional singers who have a vocabulary of ways to describe styles of singing. Scale it back, pull it back 10%, pull it back 20%, make it sloppy. It's easier to take professional singers and have them, I don't want to say dumb it down, but shape the sound in the way you need, rather than to take amateur singers and go in the opposite direction. So that's one clear advantage, at least for me, for hiring union singers.
This is good. Terry, any additional thoughts from your experiences in SAG-AFTRA?
Sure. I mean, I just, I'm going to talk from a non-professional level. I mean, what I do at the union is work on contracts. I'm the staff liaison for the singers and the dancers and several other performer groups. And, but I also have some ties to the music community. And, what this community brings to the table is just far beyond anything you can imagine. It's like I kind of want you to, and I know you will be able to hear a little bit of it later on, but, when you come to the union, you're getting the best talent that there is. You're going to get exactly what you want, the sound that you want. You're going to get it in the least amount of time. You're going to get it, if you want it one way, you may not exactly know what you want, and they'll do several different versions for you. I mean, it is, I am in awe. So, I'm a fan. I know you guys are out there working professionals, and so this is from a layman's sort of perspective in your world. They're just amazing. And you can't get that talent anywhere else, I promise you.
Yeah. Stephanie, anything to add?
Well, I'm actually going to add a little bit of a different take to that, though I agree very much so with what everybody's said. One of the things people don't think about, I think, with dealing with the union, everybody thinks it's complicated or it's kind of scary. But what we do also is we provide a lot of certainty to what your costs are going to be. You don't have to go in and negotiate individually with different people and not really know what's coming. If you know what you're going to be doing, there's a budget that's very fixed. The rates are fixed. Either the contractor or one of us can help you figuring out what that's going to be, so going in exactly what your costs are going to be, and you can budget very efficiently and quickly instead of sort of just starting from ground zero. So I just wanted to add that to the mix as well.
Okay, that's great. Let's talk a little bit about how the landscape of vocal recording has changed. I mean, recording in general has changed quite dramatically, but also vocal recording. I mean, I could say that obviously one place that hasn't changed is that despite advances in sampling, there is still no substitute for the real voice. And particularly in a solo or in a small ensemble setting, that's just something that you can't replace it. As composers, we know that acutely. The human ear is really dedicated towards picking up the human voice more than anything, every nuance of it, so it can't be fooled. So that's where it hasn't changed, and I don't think it ever will, really, in an interesting way. Certainly there's nothing out there. Choral stuff, maybe. So how has it changed in the way that, you've been working recently next to how it was a little while ago, and now we're all kind of in our individual studios. We can work remotely. We'll talk a little bit about that. But how do you feel it's changed, and how does that impact us?
There are people even in the room, I'm sure, that are more familiar with some of the very, very new ways of doing things now. When I started, there were major studios involved, or there was a major ad agency involved. And you walked into a studio or you walked into a scoring stage and someone handed you a stack of paperwork. If you were doing a commercial, there was somebody from the agency there with all the documents and stuff. So it's changed today in that you can send a track to somebody and they'll do the vocal and send it back. And there aren't those business people involved in the level of bookkeeping and keeping track and getting contracts signed. So it's more challenging for the performers as well as for the composers. I think, my feeling is we have to do a lot more education among the singer community too, to teach everybody a little bit more about their contracts. There are some wonderful contractors here in the room with us. I can't see beyond too far, but I'm seeing one in the front row, and there's a couple over here, and Randy and John Joyce. And maybe at the end of the evening, they'll all stand up so you can see them. It helps so much to have a contractor helping you that really understands the contracts, and as Stephanie was saying, can tell you what your costs are going to be. so that you don't suddenly find yourself, you've done something that you didn't realize doubled your scale or doubled your costs. So it's changed in that business structure way, and it's changed budget-wise, and it's changed because the global marketplace now exists, and the style of music is, you know, I think because of technology, people all over the world hear all the different kinds of music, and you can get closer to what you're looking for than you used to be able to. Yeah.
Well, someone said to me once, and I've had it happen, they said there's never enough money to do it right, so they can't do a union. But there's always enough money to do it over, because it was so bad the first
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
It's a
good
very,
part of the union part.
It was a much more structured business, you know, and when I started working. And now it's, obviously technology has changed a whole lot.